Hi there, my name is Leona, Mippy Art. Welcome to this tutorial. Firstly, I want to apologize for the weird zinging noise in the audio. I'm going to try and edit it out. I have no idea why it's doing that. I've tried a million microphones. I think it's my fault. It's a bit dusty. So I apologize about that. Right, let's get started. So this is a very simple and basic tutorial that I'm going to do. I'm sure there are many other techniques to doing this that are probably easier than my technique, but this is how I figured out to do it. I'm just going to share my knowledge of it. So I'm not going to show you how to make this whole picture. This is just the final product. All I'm going to show you is how to do these jail bars, these holographic jail bars, because I think that's actually a cool effect that I've figured out how to do. So you'll see that for tutorial purposes, I organized my files a bit. This is the model file. And then there's back bars, front bars, the adjustments you can ignore because those are just my final color adjustments that I made. And then this top and bottom file are the I don't know, podiums or whatever that the jail, the top and bottom of the jail anyway. Okay, so let's get started. Firstly, you would want to create these little dotted line bars. So what I did was I enabled my grid. You go to view, and then show and show grid, or you can just press Control or Command and the, I don't know what you call that, apothecary, I think something like that. Sorry, I'm not actually English, so I don't always know what the proper word is. And then I zoomed in a bit so I can just properly draw the line. Then I'm going to use my, what do you call this tool? The dotted line, the marquee tool, the rectangular marquee. And I'm going to create little blocks and fill them with color. But you'll see that I always keep my color palette like on a separate file there so that if I need to refer back to a color, I can easily do so by just eyedropping the color. Okay, so let's get started. I don't want them to be too close to each other because I'm gonna motion blur them, and I don't want them to touch each other completely after the motion blur. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do 3 blocks and then 3 blocks space and then 3 blocks and 3 blocks space. It might not come out exactly like my previous one, but this is the technique. Okay, so you just use the grid to select 3 blocks, and then very important, your foreground color must now be the color that you want the bars to be. I like this cyan light blue type of color because in my mind that's a sci-fi color. And then to fill this selection with color, you press Alt and backspace. Alt backspace is to fill the selection with a foreground color, and Control backspace is to fill the selection with a background color. So in this case, we are using our foreground color, which is the cyan blue, and then we're going to move on. Then you just skip 3 blocks and select again, and then Alt back. You're just going to go on like this to select the entire line. Also note, we are only going to do this once. We're going to use this one line of bars that we're creating and just duplicate them all over. Okay, now you can hide the grid again because I don't know, but to me it's very annoying to have to work with the grid on. And then you have your line of bars there. Now obviously we want to rotate them so they are 90 degrees, so they are this way. And then we are going to motion blur. To do this, you go to Filter, Blur, Motion Blur. Tick the preview box so you can see how much you're blurring them. Now I want them to be kind of like this. almost touch each other, but not completely. So it's going to be different for each size of image or a canvas you're working on. So play around with it until it looks like this, until it has this kind of effect. Okay. And then you just say, okay, then we are going to now multiply them all over the place and arrange them so they look like they are covering. To duplicate a layer, you press Control or Command J. And I'm going to do this a few times. I'll just move these around again. And just hide all the other ones. So we start working with one. And move this one to the side. Now you want the top to almost touch the top of the bar to almost touch this podium's line over here, this line. And you want to maybe stretch it a little to have a touch here. Now to stretch this and have it only stretch vertically and not like this. No, you don't want to stretch it like this. To ensure that this doesn't happen, hold in Shift and only use this one that says up and down, the arrow, and that way you can't make it horizontally bigger, only vertically. Okay, so I'm just going to go through and place these all along the lines until they look like this. All right. You see? Okay. And then those that are left over, you're going to move to the bottom of the model, behind the model, because now these are on top of the model, so they will be in front of the model. But you also want bars to go behind her. So you just move those directly underneath the model, and you do the same as what we just did here. And you just arrange them to form this, to line the circle, right, or the oval from our point. I'm just going to delete these because I don't want to make it a long tutorial. So therefore, I think just showing you that is enough. Now we want them to look glowy. So you have to see that should be our back bars, and these are your front bars. And front. Okay. Now we want to make them look more glowy, like that. So they actually look like holographic. This file where all the bars are now on this layer, you're just going to duplicate it again by using Control or Command J. And then the bottom one, we're going to blur even more by going to Filter, Blur, and then Gaussian Blur. Okay, you can check and uncheck the preview, but it must just in the end look like this bit of glowiness around the other one that looks normal. So mine is fine around there. And then you put this on color dodge. And that, when you want to create a glow, there are 3 different blending modes that we usually use for that: overlay, soft light, and color dodge. Color dodge is for when you want something to look very bright and glowy, because it makes the color a lot brighter than what it actually is. So we're going to use color dodge here. And then you're going to do the same thing for the top one, duplicate it, use the bottom layer, Gaussian blur it, and put it on color dodge over here. Okay. Now the final thing that I want to do is cover this entire space with a light of blue fluorescent lighting, like this, to make it look like there's actually a lot of light coming from these beams. Because at the moment it looks like the beams are a bit lit up, but not to the extent I would imagine a holographic jail to be. So what I did with this layer was I only hide it, create a new layer on top of all of this. It must be on top of everything except for your adjustments, obviously, but on top of the model, on top of the jail boards, on top of the thing at the top. We're going to use our pen tool and just roughly, by the way, I'm doing that with control, those who might not know. If you don't know how to use a pen tool, please go check my tutorial on just like this, all around the edges. It doesn't have to be precise. It's going to be light that is glowing, so it doesn't really matter. And like that. Then you right click, make a selection. Um, depending on your file size, you can feather it, but it's not really necessary to feather it. You can use a feather radius of anywhere between 0 and 5. 0 obviously looks very straight edge. I'm going to show you what 5 looks like on my document. Okay, and then I'm going to use the same foreground color again to pull the selection, Alt and backspace. Okay, so I just press Control D to deselect the selection, and you'll see that little 5 pixel radius did that. Okay, so go into layer blending options to create this outer glow effect that I had here, and also so you can either press right click and blending options, or you can double click on the layer to bring this option up. First thing we want to do is put this blue on soft light. So you go at the blending options custom part, go to flow, to soft light, and then the full opacity. What the difference between full opacity and normal opacity is that normal opacity is going to lower the opacity of the effects also. The full opacity will only lower this full bit opacity. So I want to make that a little bit lower because it was a bit too blue for me. About halfway is fine. Play around with it until you find the spot where you like it best. I'm going to still use this blue color. I like repeating my colors. I like using the same range for colors all throughout. I don't want to use a screen here because you can obviously see what it's doing. So let me show you first how all of these controls work. Spread is, if your size is this, then your spread is going to be how much of the size is spread with the color. So you don't want to put your spread too high for this in comparison to the size, and your range is going to harden it again. So you want to lift your range up to I put it on 100% all the time. It's the best gradient of glow that you can get if you put it on 100, and then the size and the spread about like this. Also, I don't want screen, I want soft light on this also. So you can now see there's a little bit of a line. I'm just going to lower the opacity of this effect until it blends in perfectly there. So you can see there's no line differentiating between the full and the glow. And that's it. That's how to create a glow and holographic jail type. Hope you enjoyed this. I'll be making lots more tutorials hopefully in the future and soon. So see you then. You can go have a look at this artwork and like it on my DeviantArt page or on Facebook. And you can also subscribe to me either on DeviantArt or Facebook or on YouTube. I will include the links to all my social media. If you like what you see, please subscribe or